It's Tuesday, it's 11 o'clock. We got some snow yesterday. So I'm in my kitchen sitting on the floor, not in my pajamas actually. Took a shower and got changed and stuff today. But anyway, I'm going to show you, I'm working on this little stool, and I'm going to show you how I do a layered paint finish. I'm working with all DIY paint today. So Debbie's Design Diary DIY paint. There's my little stool. I can see it's in process. Typically how I work with layered paint finish is I get a base coat on first. This is Queen Bee from DIY Paint. It's this DIY Paint Queen Bee. So I usually put a base layer on first. I added all of this. This is all an applique that I made from a mold by Iron Orchid Design. I did have some shrinkage. You can see like right there and right there where I had to piece them together, and then it shrunk up a little bit. But I think with the paint finish that I'm doing, you won't even notice that because it's going to be layered paints and distressed. So this is my Queen Bee, and I do a coat of that for pretty much full coverage. The next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be layering on 2 different colors, and I have got Blue Iris, which is one of the new colors from DIY, and I have got Water Lily, which is another one of the one of the new colors from DIY that we just launched in, when did they launch? September. So these 2 colors work beautifully together. They are awesome together. I use 2 separate brushes, so I have one brush for my Water Lily and one brush for my Blue Iris. I can honestly tell you that whenever I do a finish like this, most of the time my brushes end up getting mixed up because they just do, because I'm not smart enough to keep them separate. But I like to use different brushes because I want individual color in places, and you'll see what I mean. So, and I do this a lot with, I'll use lots of different colors. I'll use 4 colors, I'll use 5 colors, I'll use lots of different colors. So I start with my Queen Bee as my base coat. I'm going to take a little bit of my Water Lily, just a little bit of Water Lily. And I'm going to go ahead and going to get that on. And this is very random. There's no rhyme or reason to this. Then I take my other brush with a little bit of Blue Iris on there, and I go ahead and I get some Blue Iris on there. And there'll be some places, like right in here, where the 2 colors are kind of mixing. But for the most part, I try and keep the colors kind of separate. And I'm not really working super hard to get in there either. See, I'm leaving some of that yellow to come through. That's all good for me. I'm going to do a little bit more. There's my Water Lily. So at this point, it's going to look very patchworky. That's just what it looks like. This is also the point that if I'm doing a live painting demo, I do live painting demos at Logan Village Mall in downtown Noblesville, Indiana, which is where we retail paint. I do live painting demos down there sometimes, and usually at this point, somebody inevitably will walk up to the table where I'm doing the live painting demo, and they're like, oh, that's interesting, because they are only seeing part of the process. So, and it is a process. So it looks super patchworky. It looks terrible right now, and I totally get that, and I totally understand that that looks terrible, but it's not going to look terrible when I'm all done. So I'm just going to finish up getting this last little bit covered up here. And I have some of that yellow that still comes through, some of that Queen Bee that's still showing. That's okay for me. And that's what it's going to look like, okay? It's going to look like it's terrible. But I'm just closing up my paints now. Okay, I'm going to flip you around to the other side. I'm trying to do this in stages so that I can show it to you. So this is what it looks like. So this is what we just finished on the front. This is dry because I did this a little bit ago. So this is my Queen Bee underneath my Blue Iris and my Water Lily. And then the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to use Hey Sailor, which is another really nice blue. It's more of a navy blue. This is Hey Sailor from DIY. And a clean brush. Well, it's not clean because I've been using it, but you know what I mean. And I'm going to go right over this patchwork look that I have going on here. I'm going to paint right over that. And I use this technique all the time, like all the time. I just do it with all different colors. So I like to use Old 57 as a base coat. That's always a nice base coat. Sometimes I use Kissing Booth. That is also kind of a nice base coat color to use. But I use this technique all the time, and I just experiment with different color combinations. And there you have it. Easy peasy, right? So I've got the queen bee, that's the yellow that peeks through. I got the water lily and the blue iris, and then this was just some of the hay sailor that went over the top of that. Thank you to everybody who is watching, by the way. My name's BJ. I have 2 businesses. You're on my Junked Up page. I also have another business called The Pickled Pear. I retail Debbie's Design Diary DIY paint. And thank you for watching. I see some of you on there. So the next thing that I'm going to do is a little wet distress. And this is how I do my wet distress. I take a lint-free, it's like a paper towel. So this is like, it's paper. It's not washable or reusable. It is paper. It's a Scott's rags in a box. This is what I use. I buy mine. There we go. I buy mine at Menards. And I buy a whole bunch of them when they go on sale. So take my rag, and then I have a water bottle, and I'm just going to spray my water bottle. This is just how I like to do it. I like to use a wet or a damp rag versus spraying my piece, although I did just spray my piece as I was spraying my rag. But typically I would spray my rag away from my piece so that I wasn't getting this all wet. And then I'm going to take my damp rag, and I'm just going to rub back. And rub back some of that paint. And I get a really nice, soft, distressed look. What I like about the wet distress is that I feel like it's a little bit more, it's just a little gentler. It's just a little bit more natural. I don't get like the scratchy lines from sandpaper. And it works particularly well when you have a lot of detail work. And since I added the applique, I gave myself some detail work. And there you go, that's pretty good. And so it's bringing out all those layers. Now this one's pretty subtle because there's really a distinction between the queen bee that's under there and the blues. Now the blues are all, they're different. I mean, you can kind of see them. They're different, but they're all in that same blue family. So it's going to be subtle, and it's going to give just some nice visual movement without it being too like, I've got lots of different colors. I've done this technique so often. I do it on almost every piece I do. And the more different colors that you use, meaning colors that are further apart from each other, the more noticeable that your distressing is going to be. So like, if I do it with Kissing Booth, which is a fuchsia, and I put it, and I use some yellow, and then I do green, maybe 2 greens on top, and then I do a distress, I'm going to see a lot of difference because I've got a fuchsia, I've got a yellow, and I've got greens. But because I used 3 blues, this is going to be a lot more subtle. And some of you might ask, well then why would I use 3 blues? And it's because I want that variation. So down here, I'm actually getting through, I don't know if you guys can see that. So I'm getting past some of the blues, I've got down to my yellow, and then I've actually been able to take off some of my queen bee, some of my yellow, to expose the natural wood that was there, and I love that. So that to me looks just like a very, kind of a natural distress. And that's it, you guys, that's pretty much what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna continue to wet distress. I do have to finish up my piece. I'm kind of doing it in stages. I'm trying to do video and live all at the same time. But I get a lot of questions about the whole layered paint and how to do that and how does that work and how do you get it to look like that. And I just thought I would I would show you really quickly how I do it. It's really super easy. It's not very hard at all. The hardest part is just trying to find the color combinations that you come up with that look good. But really with DIY, I feel like there's hardly any color combinations I don't like. So that's it. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you guys later. Don't forget to hi. Don't forget to add some questions or comments. Sharing is caring. We always appreciate the shares. If you found this video helpful at all, or have somebody that's maybe struggling with wet distress or struggling with layering paints, please feel free to share. Come visit me, Logan Village Mall in downtown Noblesville, Indiana, or 3 Rusty Nails in in Anderson, Indiana. And just ask questions. I'm happy to help. So take care. Have a good one. Bye.